Hey there, day 14, Freedom Retreat, Freetreat for today. And a few of you have been talking to me about irritation, about finding it very hard to be in this compressed situation with family and friends, or whoever's in your home. Maybe it's your kids that are driving you mad, maybe it's your parents that are driving you mad, your spouse, or the fact that there's nobody there. So instead you're getting mad at the television or the kettle. And the other side of that, that I was considering, is listening to a podcast yesterday by Brene Brown. And she was talking about how contagious emotions are. So, for instance, anxiety is very contagious. You have a room full of people who may be okay coping and keeping it together, and then one person loses it, and that can destabilize the whole room. That fear and anxiety that they're vocalizing can become infectious to everybody else. And the same is true of calm. And it may be that you can be an agent for calm inside the family group or the household that you're inside at the moment. One thing I find very helpful to encourage calmness is the pause. And to some extent, the whole world is on pause at the moment, isn't it? So many things that we thought it was unimaginable that they would ever stop, like trains and shopping and going to a restaurant, have all stopped. Everybody's on hold, waiting to see what's going to happen next and when things will resume. And we can also introduce the pause in much smaller ways. Maybe you, instead of grabbing a cup of coffee and drinking it straight away, you just pause for a second, take a breath, and then sip your coffee. You notice it more, you appreciate it more. It's very easy to get into the habit of eating and drinking things without being aware of it. And when we pay attention, for example, to our food, we can appreciate it more. You put the plate down in front of you, and instead of diving straight in, just pause for a minute. A bit like the old tradition of saying grace before meals. Just pause, notice it, and appreciate it. Appreciate all the work that went into putting that food on your plate, from the farmers who worked the land, the truck drivers who transported things, maybe the chefs or the factory processors who brought it towards something that you could then eat. And not only does that make the eating more pleasurable and more enjoyable, there's research to show you get more nutrition out of your food then, just because you're more conscious about it. Another way we can introduce the pause is in our movements. So, for instance, very often we might be sitting in a chair and decide we're going to go and do something. Right? I'm going to go and put the kettle on, make another cup of tea, and I lurch out of my chair straight away. And it is a bit of a lurch, yeah? You might recognize that action. It's abrupt, it's kind of disruptive to our systems. And instead we might just think, I'm going to stand up now, and take that pause, that breath, and then stand up more gracefully. And then if you're walking somewhere, instead of rushing, because there's no need to rush at the moment, maybe there's never any need to rush, you could do a meditative walk, however small your available space is, just around your sitting room or in the garden, and just take a pause for each step. You have both feet on the ground, you take a breath, you pause, and then you take the next step. Both feet are on the ground, you take a breath, and then take the next step. And with each step, maybe you're noticing a bit more. You're noticing the way the ground is supporting your feet. You're noticing the amazing process of taking a step that we just do all the time. And apart from when we were babies learning to walk, we haven't really paid much attention to it probably. Just think about the way your balance is shifting, your weight is moving from one leg to the other. Your leg is starting to bend, the leg is going to come forward. It lifts off the ground and goes forward without you having to do anything other than have the intention to move in that direction. And you can really slow things down and do a meditative walk where you're only crossing the room, but you take 5 minutes to do it. You set a timer maybe the first time because it will be unbelievably slow. But what I find when I do that is you get into a different space, you get into a different state. You're still moving, you're not stationary, but instead of dashing across the room or just moving to get to the other side, you're totally aware of what you're doing. You're taking that step. And then the next step. Tiny steps. Small movements. Pausing. Breathing. Noticing. And noticing inside too, what's happening inside. The messages your body's getting that you're safe, that there's no rush, there's no immediate danger. You can take your time. So your brain starts to trigger different chemicals in your system compared to the abrupt, lurching, rushing movements. I find you start to feel more settled. Your breathing is slower. Your heart rate feels slower. You might feel that you're almost in a trance-like state. Feel your brain is different. Generating different chemicals. Changing, adjusting your blood pressure, your heart rate, your digestion. Soothing and smoothing. And if you do this in a focused way, you can find that 5 minutes has gone quicker than you expected. And it's 5 minutes that will change how you feel, maybe for the rest of the day. 5 minutes well spent. A good pause. Thank you. See you tomorrow.